How's it going, guys? Levi Steele here from Steele Muay Thai. Another mentality video today, and as the title suggests, are you in a plateau based on your ego and fear of failure? This is one of the biggest things in gyms. It's in everyday life as well. I've experienced it. I experience it all the time. And yeah, like I said, it's massive in gyms. It's one of the first things I attempt to tackle in an individual. And it's important to make them understand that training is a dynamic process and it's never ending. And, you know, fear of failure is this thing you have to tackle. And if you're listening to this going, oh yeah, I don't have a fear of failure, you're probably one of the biggest culprits. So I think it's important we start by breaking down the title. Are you in a plateau? So exact definition, I've got it up here of plateau. A state of little or no change following a period of activity or progress. So I learned about plateaus when I was lifting weights, dieting and stuff like that. You're eating and eating and eating, you're sticking to your diet, your weight's going up or down or whatever it is you want it to be doing, and then you hit a point where the scale stops moving. That's a plateau. You're trying to lift weight, get stronger, the numbers are going up on the dumbbells, and then you can't lift anymore, you're just stuck on that same point. Plateau. Maybe you're in your training, jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, whatever, and you just start becoming the nail for like a month, and everyone's just smashing you. Even people that are bloody not as good as you are still pumping you. You might be in a plateau. So the major thing that I don't think people realise is a person can plateau their whole entire life. They can plateau for years. I've done this stuff for over a decade now, guys, and even now, I wouldn't even say that's a long time, but even now I can see people that are plateauing or in a plateau or have experienced a plateau, and it's at the point now I can actually pick up when somebody's like in one of these plateaus that's going to last them years. So how do I pick up on that? Understanding where it comes from. And the answer is ego. The answer is ego. So again, like I said in the last video, a lot of your fighting and stuff is self-mastery. And if you're failing to master yourself and you're failing to get over your ego and destroy that self-image, that perception of yourself, you're on the right track to being in a plateau. Now, one of the big things that you see mostly with people's egos is they are afraid to fail, which is really contradictory. And this is the point I need to make in this video, so listen closely. The whole point of rocking up to training is to challenge yourself. And a part of challenging yourself is doing things that are difficult. And if you're doing things that are difficult that you've never done before, you're going to fail. You have to fail. So it's important to find a way through those failures. But that's so easy to say, but yet you get people coming into the gym to challenge themselves, but then when they get the opportunity to fail, oh, well, I stuffed it up because of this reason, or last night I got food poisoning, or they got these excuses as to why they failed. And the reality of that is nobody cares, because we're all here to fail forward fast. That's the whole point of training, guys. So, if you know, there's so many things only you're going to know, and you might not do this everywhere. You might just do it in little points. Some people are afraid of the crowd when they walk out to a fight. Why? Probably fear of failure. They're scared of what people think, which is a failure. You know, you ever stood in front of your coach and you're afraid to throw a jab in case he tells you you're wrong? You probably fear your failure. Fear failure. Have you, are you getting anxiety for anything, whatever it is, it's probably a fear of failure. So it's everywhere, guys. Are you getting tapped out or punched or whatever, or someone lower than you, maybe someone lower than you gives you a critique, right? Maybe you're a purple belt in jiu-jitsu and a white belt gives you a critique. And that bothers you, and you're like, oh, I only do it because of this, and you're offended by the hierarchy thing or something. you might have a fear of failure. So I think knowing that one thing, that the whole point of rocking up to training is to challenge yourself and find the failures so you can progress. You need to tackle the failures so you can progress. I feel like by now everybody knows that, but it is so ironic that people come up to training and then they fear failure and they try to win all the time and make excuses and everything like that. So if you truly felt and understood how failure and tackling it and conquering it makes you better, then you should be going out and finding failure. You should purposely throw yourself in the deep end and make yourself, in a really difficult spot. And the more you do that, the more you succeed. That makes so much sense to me, but I think, it makes sense when you say it, but I swear people do not do it. They protect this ego. They don't want to be wrong. They don't want to fail. They don't want to be tapped by the new guy, or they don't want to be punched by the new guy. Or it doesn't matter. And especially doesn't matter just in a single day, because there's, like I said, it's a dynamic process. It's a whole entire lifetime of training. So it's like, it really doesn't matter that much. So here's something to help you with this, guys. If you're struggling with this is how it helps me. Training environment, sparring environment, and competition environment are 3 different things. Training and how your mindset in training should be different to how it is when you're sparring. And your sparring mindset should be different to how it is when you're in competition. And I'm guilty of this as well. I see people in competition that have a competition mindset and they have that in training. Those people are probably in a plateau. They're probably in one of these massive plateaus. Because why would you be in a competition mindset when you're in the gym? Because you're trying to win all the time. But the gym is where you're meant to fail. Training is where you're meant to fail all the time. Fail forward fast. You're meant to make stuff ups. You're meant to not know what you're doing. You're meant to be taught by people that are better than you in the room. That's the whole point. So that when you go to sparring, you can actually go, oh, okay, technique, I learnt this, I learnt that. And then you try to almost forget about technique and just spar and go, how can I get them? And start to do that, or how can I defend? And it kind of becomes more simple principles. But then when you're in competition, all of those things you learnt should by now be habitual. You don't rise to the occasion, you fall back to your training. So that should all be habitual. Now, this is the thing. Those people that have a competition mindset in the gym are trying to win all the time. So if they're trying to win all the time, that means they're not handling failures. They're sparring too hard. They're rolling too hard. They're busting out of moves in jiu-jitsu where I've rolled with people that you'll get them into like an Americana submission and you got them all the way out here and you're about to like break their arm and then they muscle out, and it's like, if you're at that point, you've already lost. You failed all the increments of technique up until that point, and you're at here and you've already lost. So they resort to the ego and they muscle out of things. And the only reason they get out of it is because you didn't want to bust their arm out. So it's like, and it can be the same in sparring. People start to spaz out and throw hard punches, hard knees. They start to use power to get out of a place where their technique isn't good enough for what the person's giving them. And that can be another thing as well. So if you're in a competition mindset and you're doing those things, you're probably in a competition mindset in a training environment. And this is going to cause that plateau. So really important that you know that you're in training and you fail. You focus on failing and handling the failures, getting yourself into the worst case scenarios and trying to find your way out. That's how you're going to progress fast. Now, when you jump into sparring is when you forget about technique. You don't really worry as much about how well your foot turns and all this thing. You start to think, how can I execute the strategies and the game plan? So that's a bit different. Competition, this is where it matters. So the competition was where the competition and training, those two really cross over, and this becomes the big problem. Now, I actually suffer from this problem. My competition or my fights, I still have a training mindset or a sparring mindset. And I almost sometimes stand in a person and I'll almost allow them to do things because I'm like, I get stuck in coaching. And sometimes I'll even stand in, sometimes I have the opportunity in fights to do the biggest all Hail Mary knee that would probably blow out all their gut gizzards. And I'd almost forget to hit hard because I've spent so much time training and coaching. So that's another example of where the training mindset goes into a fight. And that sounds ridiculous. But that's something I suffer with, is I end up winning on points instead of getting knockouts because I forget to hit hard. And I shouldn't do that. I shouldn't let them off. So yeah, I'd say these two sides are the worst ones, guys. If you've got a competition mindset in training, you're going to be in one of those plateaus. And if you're bringing, like me, training mindset into a competition, well, you either might let them off the chain, you might let them off and not knock them out, or you might kind of allow them to do better, which is sort of kind of what happens sometimes. So, yeah, guys, in summary, fear of failure, trying to protect your ego, trying to win all the time, you're actually halting your progression. And I have seen it, and it will happen. You will train for years and years and years trying to protect that ego, spending your time in competition mindsets when you're in the wrong environment. And you're going to get to a point where that person that was not afraid to fail and they just drilled, they asked questions and, oh, he got me here, how can I do this and how can I do that? They're going to be the one in 3 or 4 years' time, they're going to have really structurally sound technique and you're not going to be able to do anything about it anymore because you spent all that time overexerting, using your assets, sparring too hard, using pain in training to try and get your way. Food for thought, guys. Have a think, see what you reckon. It is a major factor and it does need to be worked on by not just me, as I just said, but everybody. So take it in consideration, guys. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe.